Good morning and happy Easter. I'm Allie Benjamin and this is Growing Edge Live. And I'm broadcasting live from Farmington, Utah. And wherever you are, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to stumble across this, whether it's you're watching this as a replay, a recording, or you're here live. Really, really glad that you're here. You know, we've been gathering here online and in person since '09, and so that's quite a few years, and it's been such a blessing to come together in person, come together to share a message of joy and hope and possibly some spiritual principles and practices that will help you on your path, on your journey of awakening, of your coming home to who you really are. So this morning, my talk title is To Be a Blessing. To be a blessing. And before I get going, I'd like to start with a meditation. So if you would, please close your outer eyes and just take a few deep breaths, breathing and settling, arriving, coming into this moment, coming into the presence of the divine. In this moment, we become aware, we slow down, we connect to the oneness, the vastness of what's really happening now. This thing called light, love, this thing called life. And as we slow down, as we become aware, it's as though we become a witness to what's really occurring. In this moment, in this sacred moment, every moment is sacred, and when we slow down to pay attention, that's when we receive the gifts, the blessings. And so what are you receiving right now as you slow down, as you allow the mind to just become quiet, and you just become aware of what is occurring? There's movement, there's sound, there's feelings, emotions, images. What are you feeling? Who are you in this moment of stillness? In this moment of presencing life, of being a witness to being pure consciousness, awake, aware, expansive, interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. As we open up to the one mind, the divine mind that has within it infinite possibilities and potentialities, and we expand our edges, we expand the confines of our mind, of our paradigm, and we simply become present. All right, taking another breath, opening the eyes, and being here now. We're back. Good morning and welcome. So glad that you're here today. I see my friends from Utah and Big Bear and around the globe, possibly my family from the UK. So glad to see you. So glad that you're here. So glad that you found this time within your day to tune in to to dive in to what's really important, and that is you and us and what wants to happen. So my title of my talk today is to be a blessing. And what I want all of us to remember and to know is that we're all a blessing. Sometimes we get so engaged in the physical world around us. We get so interested in achieving things and acquiring things and getting somewhere and reaching goals that we don't realize, we don't remember that each of us are a blessing. We're each here in this physical earth suit, in this body, in time and space, to show up as a blessing in the world. And when we don't start our day with that awareness, when we just jump out of bed and look at our to-do list or create a to-do list and we're off and running, we don't get the opportunity to ground in, to become present, to realize who we are, what we're about. Several weeks ago, some of my students and I worked on a soul purpose statement. And my soul purpose statement is something that I'd like to share with you, because it's been a great tool to have this purpose statement, to have this mantra that I can repeat several times in the morning, and it gives me a sense of groundedness, of belonging where I am, of remembering who I am, so that I can move forward through my day with a greater sense of who I truly am as a spiritual being having a human experience. So my soul statement or my soul purpose is that love moves me forward, light illumines me from the inside out, and joy guides me every step of the way. Now, these words, these sentences, this mantra, this touchstone, this North Star for me have been so powerful, because first thing out of bed, I say this to myself, and there I am. I'm fully aware of the blessing that I am, that the blessing of life is offering me as I sort of slow down and become centered and realize myself as a blessing, as a spiritual being having a human experience where I get to go out into the world and to live my purpose. And I think our collective purpose is to be a blessing, that all of us are here to add to the whole, to bring our lights, our gifts, our talents, our treasures together to create a more beautiful world, the one that our hearts know is possible. And I believe that a lot of the suffering in the world, the sadness, the melancholy, the blues that we all feel, sometimes there's individuals that feel that melancholy more often than not. And I believe that we experience this because we know, we feel in our hearts that there is something greater, that there is something more beautiful, that there's a world that's more beautiful, a world where we belong, that we're aching for, and that's why we're sad, that's why we're blue. And so when we have this awareness of why we may be experiencing the blues or this sense of melancholy, is because this beautiful world is yet to be our reality. The beautiful world our hearts know is possible is yet to be our reality. Why? Because we haven't created it together. And that, I believe, is our soul purpose collectively, that we're all here to create a more beautiful world, and the only way we can do it is together. And that individual sense of suffering is because we know it's possible, but we haven't achieved it. And so it's my desire today that we become aware that we can do this. And it starts with us realizing that we are a blessing. And we have to tend to our souls. We have to give to ourselves. We have to treat ourselves like a blessing. Because you're the only one that's with you all the time. And so you have this wonderful opportunity to give yourself love, to give yourself peace, to tend to your soul, to take yourself off into nature and connect with the planet, with Mother Nature, with the creatures, to do things that light you up. You get to do that to yourself, with yourself, as yourself, more than anyone on the outside can do. So you, in this sense, as being your own blessing, you are your own best friend. And you have that's your primary role, is to tend to yourself first. And when we tend to ourselves first, when we fill up our own cup, then we have plenty to give others. Then we are overflowing with the energy of love and joy and kindness and care. And then we get to overflow that and bring that out into the world. And so that's our sole purpose, is to be a blessing. So what does it mean to be a blessing? Last week, if you tuned in, you saw me and my BSS, my beloved soul sibling, John Moore, and we talked about friendship. We talked about what it means to be a friend and trust and being there, and sometimes having to be that mirror and support our friends in moving through some struggles and some tough times. And there's so many ways that friendship can support us on our spiritual path to awakening, to becoming who we truly are, to becoming what the world needs now. And so friendship is a way that we can be a blessing in the world. So I ask you today, who are your friends? And yes, as spiritual beings, we like to think of everyone as a friend, or if they're not a friend yet, they're becoming friends. But I'm asking you, who is your close circle of friends? Where do you have the greatest influence? And let's start there. With our closest circle of friends, we get to be a blessing there. So how can you bring blessings into the life of others? How do you show up as a blessing? We can acknowledge people right where they are. We can acknowledge our friends and our family right where they are, whatever they're going through, whether they're on top of the world, experiencing great joy and accomplishments and prosperity and health and all of that, or whether they're not in such a great place, that they're feeling the weight and the sadness. I know many of us are feeling great loss, and we've dealt with great trauma, and we're still sort of coming out of this collective shell of disbelief of what's occurred over the last few years. And we're trying to gain our footing, and we're trying to get back on track. We're wondering where we fit and where our tribe or where our community is, and we haven't yet found it. And so we meet our friends right where they are, in the highs and the lows, and we're present, we're available, we're encouraging, we're supportive, we're helpful. So how can you be a friend? How can you meet the needs of your friends, your colleagues, those that you bump into at the store or out and about in your world? How can you be a greater presence, a blessing, and see in them the blessing that they are? Because we've all heard the namaste, the divinity in me honors the divinity in you. The divinity in me sees the divinity in you. This is a deep spiritual teaching. And so when we can really truly be present with another, when we can see the divinity in the other, now sometimes we lose sight of that divinity or that God self or that enlightened self, because many of us take on a lot of stuff. We lose ourself, we lose a sense of our spiritual self because we become consumed with, maybe we have an illness, it's been a diagnosis, or maybe we're struggling in a relationship, or maybe we're struggling with financial issues. So we kind of lose track of our divinity and our peace, and we lose track of the importance of managing our inner world, because our outer world is so complex. And so we become possibly sad or victimized or angry or bitter or complaining or worrisome or have a lot of anxiety. And so when we meet our friends that are experiencing that, it can sometimes be a struggle to just feel that this relationship is a blessing. But it is, even in those hard times, even when our loved ones are struggling or when we're struggling, there's still an opportunity for connection. There's still an opportunity to share a blessing. There's still an opportunity to realize the blessing, the learning, the gift that those times, that those challenging times, that those challenging people have to offer us. And so I've created an acronym for the word blessing. And I hope that this word, blessing, and all the teachings that I'm about to share, all the blessings that I'm about to share with you, really help you in remembering that you get to be a blessing wherever you are, and you get to see the blessing that everyone else is, and you get to experience life just as it is, the highs and the lows, as a blessing. Because even the most challenging things, even those things, give rise to gifts that we may not experience while we're in the midst of the struggle, but we'll be gifted them, or we'll realize and recognize them later. So here we go. So blessing stands for be loving. So be loving. Even if you don't say anything all day, if you maybe take a vow of silence for a day and just be the presence of love. So be loving and be loyal to yourself as love. So think of being loyal. Being loyal means you're engaged, you're present, you're caring, you're with that soul or with that person or with that adventure or that thing you're doing. You're loyal to it. You're present to it. You care about it. You want to be supportive. You want to be of guidance. You want to be helpful. So you're loyal to being loving. You're loyal to being loving. So be loving. The next letter is E. You get to be engaged. So when you're not just loving the person you're with or loving the moment, being the presence of love, you're engaged. You're paying attention. You're listening. You are being supportive. You're helping out in any way you can. So you ask yourself, how can I engage here? How can I fully engage with this moment, with this friend, with this time? I know I'm here to be the presence of love, but how can I take it even further? How can I engage more fully? What is needed here? What is needed from me? If I'm to dig a little deeper here, what can I bring forward? What can I bring forward in the terms of energy? Maybe I just need to hold the space of peaceful energy here. Or maybe there's something I need to do. Maybe I need to prepare a meal and drop it off at my friend's house. Maybe I need to extend an invitation, go for a walk, go for a coffee. How are you being called to engage more fully so that you can be a blessing? There's 2 S's in blessing. So I've chosen the word slow and the word simplify. And this is a great spiritual teaching, a great spiritual technology to slow down. We're so fast, we're so engaged with time. Our whole structure, our whole system, our whole school schedule, work schedule, organizing our time, it's so important. But really on the spiritual dimension, we get to slow down. We don't exist in time and space. Time and space exist within us. So we get to be broader, we get to be slower, we get to be present in the stillness and the slowness. We get to be deliberate. We get to do what we do, but in a slower, more mindful and deliberate manner. And when I move into that zone, something magical happens. I then have greater access because I'm not racing, I'm not hurrying, I'm not trying to be busy, I'm just merely being. I slow down and I have access to greater wisdom. I have access to greater knowing. My intuition kicks in. I begin to just know what needs to come forward. I get to know what needs to happen. It's because I've slowed down. Try it. Begin to be slow. And then simplify. Don't we complicate things? Don't we make things more difficult than they need to be? What if it's easy? What if we simplify our life, our communication style, the way we interact with our world? What if we're more mindful with the way we organize and structure the doings, the comings and goings, and the things that we put into our schedule? What if we simplify it? And what if we slow down to find that simpler way, that more mindful way of being as a true blessing? And I'm feeling the vibe of it, slowing and simplifying. There's a particular peace. There's a particular godness or holiness or divinity in the moment when we simply slow and simplify. Then we inquire. We become interested. We ask questions. We can engage with others. We engage with ourselves with asking ourselves questions that cause us to simply be a blessing. What wants to come forward through me today? We might ask another, how can I support you? How can I serve you today? We inquire. We look into. We notice. That's the next letter, N. We notice what's happening. We get more curious about what's going on. We get curious about the person. We get curious about the thing. We get curious about what we're doing. We begin to see the world with a sense of awe and wonder. We begin to notice more fully what's occurring as ourselves, in ourselves, and what wants to come forward. And then the last and the only word that goes with G in the word blessing is to give. We're here to give. That's our collective soul purpose. It's to be a blessing and to give love. To give love pressed down and flowing out. Because what I know is that you can't outgive the universe. Have you ever taken a look around and seen how much there is to be grateful for? How many blessings that you get to count every day? We have been given the queendom, the kingdom. It's been laid out before us, this thing called life. There's a banquet table of opportunities, and we partake of this grand banquet table of life, and we can't outgive the universe. We simply become a conduit for giving. So that's my word for blessing. It's to be love, engaged. We get to slow down. We get to simplify. We get to notice, and we get to inquire, and then notice, and then we get to give. So that's my blessing today. I know this acronym has blessed me, and I trust it's going to bless you today on this beautiful Easter Sunday. I love you. Thank you for blessing my life. Thank you for being a blessing in the world. And namaste, peace and blessings. If this message has supported you today and you'd like to financially contribute to our ministry, where we're here at Growing Edge, inspired by Satya, you can go to our website, Satya Live, SATYALIVE, .org, and you can give there, or you can go to our Venmo, and that's Satya Center, SATYACENTER, and you can give there. And you're always giving your love and your energy, and I feel it. I love it. So, namaste, peace and blessings. I'm going to pray us out. Oh, thank you, Spirit of Life, for this amazing opportunity to gather together today, to feel the richness, the oneness, the juiciness, the omniscience, the omnipresence, the omnipotence of life, all knowing, everywhere present, always powerful. It is this thing called life. It is this thing called us. Each of us, individualized expressions of this beautiful universal spirit, this creative spirit that we are. And today we affirm that we are a blessing. I am a blessing. We are a blessing. And by being a blessing, we uplift the world. By being a blessing, we bring peace and joy and creativity and beauty forward into the world as never before. I am the light I am as never before. That I am now. We are the light we are as never before. That we are now. So let us spread seeds of blessings and light and love in our world wherever we go. I know that each of us are blessed right in this moment. Let us receive a healing. Let us receive our blessings. Let us receive our answered prayers. Let us know that we make a difference. Let us know that it begins with us, that we vibrate at the energy of light and love and joy. And in that way, we begin to make a more beautiful world, the one our hearts know is possible. We receive this blessing. We extend this blessing. We are the blessing that the world needs now. Namaste. Peace and blessings. Mwah. Aloha. Peace and blessings. Namaste. Om Shanti Shanti. I love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.